That's just right there.
That video.
Turn to our prayer books, to our Sidurim, to page 141. Welcome ourselves together under our tent, page 141. Ma tovu halecha, oh halecha Yaakov. Ma tovu halecha, oh halecha Yaakov. Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Mishkenotecha
ישראל. משכנותיך ישראל.
ואני תפילתי לך, אדוני, את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך. ענני באמת אישך. We'll turn ahead now to page 151, the morning blessings, to greet this day together. It's a custom to rise as we're able. And Beth, I'll begin on page 151 and ask you to take over on the next page. Okay. And then we'll pass it right on down the line here. Page 151. לשם ייחוד קודשה בריחו שכינתי, הנני מוכן ומזומן לקבל עליי מצוות השכל, ואהבת לרעך כמוך, ובזכות זה אפתח פי.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, המעביר שינה מעיני ותנומה מעפעפיי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, הנותן לשכלי בינה להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, רוקה הארץ על המים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, ששא לכל צוקים.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, שעשני בצלמו.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, שעשני בת חורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חיל עמים, הנותן ליעף כוח.
Amen.
165. We'll continue from our seats now. אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא. 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 Continue now following English version of the prayer on page 177. Lai, 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 Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Lai, 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 Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Lai, 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 Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one whose speech is the world. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one forever creating. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one speaking and acting. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. sustaining. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one whose love fills the earth. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one whose compassion gives life. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one who brings us full circle. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one living forever. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. 181 Yachid Ha'olamim Melech Meshubach Umefar Adei Shemo Hagadol Baruch Atah Adonai Melech Le'olam Patish V'chol. Amen. Open ourselves to the Psalms. Right now on page 209, the Psalm for Shabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ולזמר לשמך העליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך באמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. Next page, צדיק כתמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בברית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי ולא
More Psalms coming. Chodesh Tov, Rosh Chodesh Tov. There's a lot going on this morning, including Hallel. So the feeling of warming up together will continue. Right now, we celebrate being together. Just a moment for friends and family of Isaac, but also for all of us as a community. If you're here, just look around. And if you're there, imagine. And each in our own way, we are together. On page 247, the first of the prayers that requires a minyan, and we are already an order of magnitude beyond that. We rise and praise.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Havaya Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Ruach HaOlam Yotzer Or Uvorech Choshech Ose Shalom Uvorech et HaKol. Celebrating God as creator on a day like this, just look outside. It's easy to tune into appreciation for this wondrous, fragile, interconnected whole of which we are a part. We sing about it on page 253 with the English transliteration on 255. El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim baruch umborach befi kol neshama godlo v'tuvo male olam da'at u'tvuna sovavim hodo hamika'e al chayot ha'kodesh v'nedar bechavod al ha'merkava zechut u'mishor lifnei chiso chesed v'rachamim lifnei chevodo tovim meorot shebara Eloheinu yitzaram beda'at bevina ufaskel koach ugvura natan bahem liot moshlim bekerev tevel meleim ziv umfikim noga na'ezivam bechol ha'olam שמחים וצאתם וששים בבואם עושים בהם הרצון קונם פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו קרא לשמש ויזרח אור ראה והתקין צורת הלבנה שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום תפארת וגדולה שרפים ואופנים בחיות הקודש יאללה 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 Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la. Page 269. Beginning, middle, and end of this liturgical unit celebrating our place in the cosmos and our responsibility for all the rest of creation, turning after this to the particular themes of a tradition that Isaac is blessed to fully join today. 269 in the middle. עושה חדשות, זורע צדקות, מצמיח ישועות, בורא רפואות, נורא תהילות אדוני נפלאות, המחדש בטובו בכל יום תמיד, מעשה וראשית כאמור. לעושה אורים גדולים, כי לעולם חסדו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו במהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצר המאורות.
We'll turn now to the verses that will lead us right into the morning Shema, and it's a delight to welcome Naomi to the Bima. Naomi, I'm going to ask you to come and join me here Let's begin together on page 275, and then we'll turn the page and we'll ask you to lead us. Okay, so I'll start here and then ask you to take over. Okay, join me, please, page 275. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושופך ובקומך ושרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניה ותרתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
Continue on our own for just a few moments in these middle passages of the Shema. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם נשאו הם ציצית הכנפי רגליהם נתנו הציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת והלכם לציצית וראיתם אותו, זכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We want to turn in our books now to page 743 to a bit of wisdom from one of our most glorious scientists, and to call forward Matt Biel's brother, Spencer Stewart. Okay, my notes say Spencer.
He's here as well.
Ah, got it. Wonderful to have you with us. Page 743.
Strange is our situation here upon earth. Each of us comes for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeing to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we do know, that we are here for the sake of each other above all, for those upon whose smile and well-being our own happiness depends, and also for the countless unknown souls with whose fate we are connected by a bond of sympathy. Many times a day, I realize how much my own outer and inner life is built upon the labors of others, both living and dead, and how earnestly I must exert myself in order to give in return as much as I have received and am still receiving.
Thank you, Stuart. Mazal tov. We'll turn now back in our Siddur to page 291, the Freedom Song, which will take us into our morning Amidah, page 291.
Tfilot leil elyon, baruch hu vorach, Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael, Lechanu shira b'simcha rabba, v'yamru chulam. Mi chamocha, mi chamocha, mi chamocha, mi chamocha, mi chamocha, mi chamocha behelim Adonai. Mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, nedava kodesh, norat hilot, osef ele, norat hilot, Osef ele, shira, shira, shira chadasha, shira, shira, shira chadasha, shira, shira, shira chadasha, shibchu geulim, לשמחה שפת הים, לשמחה שפת הים, לשמחה שפת הים, לשמחה שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמלכו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופתחנו ממך, יהודה וישראל. גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. Baruch ata Adonai, Gahal Yisrael. Page 295. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch ata Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imot, U'mevii Gula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo v'Ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch ata Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah, ata Gibor le'olam Adonai, Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv ha'ruach u'morid ha'gashem, Mechakel chayim v'chesed, Mechaye kol chai v'rachamim rabim, Tzomech noflim v'rofeh cholim, U'mahatir asurim, U'mekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Lishenei afar. Michamocha bal gevurot, U'mi domelach, Melech memit u'mechaye u'matzmiach Yeshua v'neman ata lachayot kol chai Baruch ata Adonai mechaye kol chai page 303. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנסים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב ימינו לעולם, ועת תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, הדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Amen. Continuing on our own now and taking special note of the passage on page 317 in honor of Chanukah.
Adonai Tzuri vegoali. Adonai Tzuri vegoali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Yehu l'ratzon imrefi, v'egyon libi lefanecha. Adonai Tzuri vegoali. Adonai Tzuri vegoali.
I'm going to ask us to turn back in the Siddur to page 309, just to linger here in Shabbat, the Shabbat Amidah, one more moment. Page 309.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונה. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונה. העם מקדש שבי, כולם ישמעו ויתענגו. העם מקדש שבי, כולם ישמעו ויתענגו. מצווך, מצווך. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונה. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונה. בשביל רצית בו, רצית בו וקידשתו. בשביל רצית בו, רצית בו וקידשתו. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונה. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונה. חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר מעשה בראשית. חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר מעשה בראשית. ישמחו
במלכותך, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, בכל עונג. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, בכל עונג.
As Rabbi Fred mentioned a little bit earlier this morning, today is a smorgasbord of celebrations. I think, Isaac, you're like the grand finale, actually. But the calendar gives us 3 different things happening today. Shabbat, so the regular Shabbat prayers, the regular Shabbat Torah reading, Shabbat Rosh Chodesh, so today is the beginning of a new month for us, and also Chanukah. And in honor of all of that, but especially for Rosh Chodesh and for Chanukah, we're turning to our Hallel prayers, our psalms of celebration, of deliverance, of rejoicing. And for that, we come to standing as we're able and turn in the Siddur to page 357. Join me for the opening bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et ha'halel. Page 359, Mekimim me'afarda, me'ashpot yarim evion, lehoshivim nedivim, im nediv ve'amor, moshivi akeret habayit, em habanim smecha, hallelujah. 361.
בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז. הייתה יעבדה לקודשו ישראל ממשלותיו. הים רעב הינוס הירדן יסוב לאחור. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז. ההרים רקדו כאלים, גבעות כבני צאן. מה לך הים כי תנוס, הירדן תיסוב לאחור. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז. מלך הים כי תנוס, הירדן תיסוב לאחור. ההרים תרקדו חיילים, גבעות כבני צאן. מילים
Adonai zacharanu yevarech, yevarech et Beit Yisrael, yevarech yirei et Aharon, yevarech yirei Adonai, hakanim im hadolim, Yosef Adonai alechem, alechem le'ovelechem, beruchim atem l'Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz, shamayim shamayim l'Adonai, ve'aretz natan livnei adam, lo hametim ye'aleluya, ve'lo kol yodedu ma, va'anachnu nevarech ya, le'ata ve'Adonai, le'ata ve'Adonai, hallelujah. Page 371. Hallelujah et Adonai kol goyim shabchu shabchu kol ha'umim ki gavar aleinu chasto ve'emet Adonai le'olam, hallelujah. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto yom ha'ana Yisrael ki le'olam chasto. La 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 la. Yomruna v'tzaharon ki le'olam chasto yomruna ve'Adonai ki le'olam ki le'olam ki le'olam ki le'olam chasto. 373.
Min hametzah karatia Anani v'hamechavya Min hametzah karatia Anani v'hamechavya המצר קראתיה ענני במרחביה מן המצר קראתיה ענני במרחביה מן המצר קראתיה ענני במרחביה במרחביה
373, same page, bottom of the page. Ozi vezimratya vayehi lishua. 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 375. לא אמות כי אחיה ואספר מעשיה יסור ישרניה ולמוות לא נתנני פיתחו לי שערי צדק אבוא במודיה פיתחו לי שערי צדק אבוא במודיה זה השער לאדוני צדיקים יבואו בו זה השער לאדוני צדיקים יבואו בו. Next page 377. עודך כי הניצני ותהי לי לישועה עודך כי הניצני ותהי לי לישועה אבן מעשו הבונים הייתה בראש פינה אבן מעשו הבונים הייתה לראש פינה מת אדוני הייתה זאת היא נפלאת בינינו מת אדוני הייתה זאת היא נפלאת בינינו זה היום עשה אדוני נגילה ונשמחה בו זה היום עשה אדוני נגילה ונשמחה בו. 377, middle of the page. Ana Adonai Hoshiana
Hatzliana. Ana Adonai, Hatzlichana. Ana Adonai, Hatzlichana.
379. Third line in the Hebrew, allowing ourselves a full-throated expression of gratitude. Eli ata ve'odeka, Elohai aromemeka. Eli ata ve'odeka, Elohai aromemeka. Eli ata. Eli ata ve'odeka, Elohai aromemeka. 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 Hodu, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov le'olam, ki le'olam chasto. Ki lecha tov leodot uleshimcha na'eh lezamer, ki me'olam ad olam ata el, baruch ata Adonai, melech mehulal batishpachot. Ask us all to remain here together. We can be seated in the congregation. We'll seal all these prayers with the full Kaddish, page 381. Yitkahada veyitkahada shemei shemei rabba ve'almadi ve'rachirute ve'amelich malchute v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael b'gala ubizman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'lamei almayah. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh ve'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha berichu le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata tushbechata ve'nechemata damiran be'alma ve'imeru amen.
Amen.
Titkabel zelot uve'utehon dechol Beit Yisrael kodam avuhon divishmaya ve'imeru amen.
Amen.
Yesh lama rabba min shmaya ve'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel bimro amen. Amen, amen. So much gratitude to Beth Sperber-Ritchie, Jeff Weintraub, Cheryl Horowitz for all their beautiful davening and music. And we are welcoming Rabbi Fred back from leading our Limud Tefillot this morning. And now we're ready to turn to our Torah service. It is a true delight to welcome Lauren and Matt and Isaac to the Bima to share their blessings for Isaac and for him to receive his talit.
Isaac Lev. The last time we stood up here on the Bima with you, we were presenting you as a new baby to this community. And what I remember most about that day was that as Rabbi Fred was reading his blessings, you reached out and started to try to eat the words out. You took it and started to eat it. Even then, devouring words and wisdom. Little did we know then how true to form that would be. What a voracious mind you would have. But the truth is, you've been exactly yourself from day one. In thinking about the blessing that I wanted to give you today, come close. I've spent some time really thinking about the person that you are and the person that you have always been. Three snapshots came to mind for me. All times when I watched you interact with the world outside of our home. First, as we were excitedly getting you ready on the first day of kindergarten, and you picked up your backpack, walked out the door, and said, "Okay, I'm heading to the bus, see you later." Second, the time when you were about 6 years old, and we stopped at a random playground in Rhode Island to stretch our legs during a road trip. Within 5 minutes of being at the playground, you had already been dealt into a card game by a circle of kids. And third, this incredible quality that you showed from your earliest days. Whenever you heard anyone crying on the playground, you would find them and get close so that you could understand what had happened and how you could help. Isaac, as you enter adulthood and you continue to move ever more into the world outside our home, I offer you these blessings. May you continue to jump into new challenges with 2 feet. We can't wait to see how far you fly. May you approach others with a deal me in attitude, putting others at ease with your confidence and your comfort with yourself. Be hands-on in this life. And when you see suffering, pain, and injustice, may you always run towards. I love you so much.
Isaac Lev, you have always loved a good story. As a little boy, you sat transfixed as Mom and I read to you, and you took off reading on your own soon after, devouring books at a spectacular pace. Fantasy, sci-fi, history, each genre has always filled you with curiosity and passion. Even conversations are irresistible to you. I love to see you perceive that a good chat is afoot nearby, and to watch as you deftly join in, just as Mom described. You don't want to miss anything, my boy. These narratives that you love are human stories about who we are, what we've done, and where we're going. Isaac, having the chance to see who you are, what you do, and where you're going is a great gift to the people in your life, to Mom and Naomi and me most of all. You have much to be grateful for too. You're surrounded here today by friends from Silver Creek, from Eastern, from Torah School, from baseball, and from family from near and far. Very lucky. Here are my blessings for you on this important day. May you continue to enjoy the stories all around us including the stories that help us to remember the beauty and value of our Jewish community, and the stories that remind us of our common humanity. May you develop the self-awareness to know that you are writing the story of your life with the choices that you make, the friends that you keep, the books that you read. The important stuff is not off in the distant future. The important stuff is now. May you have the generosity to share your kindness and honesty and love for life with all the people who surround you. In one of the great sources of knowledge in the Jewish tradition, Pirkei Avot, we learned that the wise person is the one who learns from every person they meet. May you pursue this kind of wisdom every day of your life. We love you and we are proud of you.
And all of these blessings and so many more silent blessings and the blessings of your community are all woven into this tallis that we give you today. May it protect you and give you strength as you continue to move ever forward in your life.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu hitatef b'tzitzit.
Amen.
We're going to stay. You'll be back. Page 383, as we prepare to take out the source of so many of these amazing stories and bring it into the community. Page 383. Okay. Join me there. Ein kamocha ve'Elohim Adonai ve'ein kema'asecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim u'memshaltecha bechol dor vador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch leolam ba'ed, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Inviting Rebecca and Leah to join us. Av harachamim Etiva virtzoncha et Zion tivne chomot Yerushalayim tivne chomot Yerushalayim ki vecha levad batachnu ruach el ram benisa adon olamim. Vayhi vinso Aaron vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai v'yachutzu oivecha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha ki mitzion tetzeh Torah ki mitzion tetzeh Torah Udvar Adonai miYerushalayim Baruch Shenatna Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Yisrael Bikdush Mato.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
393, we respond. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Hallelujah Adonai Iti Uberomena
Shemo Yachdav Lecha Adonai Hallelujah.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'yishtachavu l'Adon raglav. Kadosh hu, Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, Romemu Adonai Eloheinu. Achavu lehar kodsho ki Eloheinu, Yisrael ve'oraita kuchabrichu, Chadu Yisrael ve'oraita kuchabrichu, Chadu u'Torah orato, Hallelujah. Torah, hallelujah. Torah, hallelujah. Ya la 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 la.
Last. Torah. Hallelujah.
Phew, it's a rare day when 3 Torahs come out of our ark all at once. So as I said before, we're reading from 3 scrolls today in honor of this most full day, to continue with the weekly rhythm of Shabbat Torah reading, to acknowledge the beginning of a new month in the Hebrew calendar, and to acknowledge this beautiful holiday of Chanukah. So just a very few words to share before we begin the first of our readings today. Pardon me 1 second. So we've come to the very heart of the Joseph saga in our journey through the Torah. These ending weeks of the book of Genesis offer us some of the most powerful and beautiful examples of biblical storytelling, maybe in the whole Bible. It's here in these passages, some of the ones we'll read this week and certainly next week, that we recognize the Torah as sacred myth. Sacred myth. Sacred because it is ultimately the story of our desire to understand how God appears in our lives, in our desire to find meaning and connection, to make sense out of the things in our lives that don't always make sense. And mythological, because these passages offer us a set of images and characters through which we have to ultimately see ourselves, through which we see a truth that transcends historical time. So Joseph has now risen from the physical pit of his brother's hatred, from the metaphorical pit of an Egyptian prison, and he's now sitting at the right hand of the Pharaoh. He's overseeing the successful dispensation of food rations during the famine he correctly predicted would come. And it's during this famine, it's the background of this famine somehow that creates the space for his own family estrangement to be tested and ultimately healed. When the brothers come to Egypt in search of food, Joseph is famously able to hide behind his Egyptian identity. He's able to observe his brothers from a distance so he can determine if they admit their own guilt in sending him away in the first place. He wants to see if they carry any remorse for their hateful behavior towards him. And along the way, we have to see that he's also testing himself. He's trying to determine if he has the strength to meet them now in the present, trying to determine if he can ever forgive them. One of the things this parasha highlights for us is how much emotions have no sense of time. Feelings are not sensitive to the passage of history. We know this from our own life experiences. How many times have we been completely overwhelmed by a strong emotion from something or someone in our past? When that thing or that person appears, maybe even years later, the feelings are often as vivid as the original experience of them. In the text of this week's parasha, there are a number of hints that the past is about to be revisited, and the emotional response we see here, we're going to see with Joseph, tells us that personal history is alive in the characters who have lived it. At the outset of this episode, Jacob tells his sons to go to Egypt to find food, but the Torah refers to them as Joseph's brothers. It goes by really quickly, you almost can miss it, but it's so striking, since as far as the brothers know, Joseph is gone. So we have to take this as a hint. If they're being referred to as his brothers all of a sudden, not only as Jacob's sons, there is going to be a reunion of some kind with Joseph. Jacob, the father, is likewise revisiting an important moment from his past, the moment when he first sent Joseph out to find his brothers last week, which of course results in Joseph being sold into slavery, disappearing from the family, and leaving Jacob to grieve for the son he thinks he has lost. Because of all of this, Jacob, remembering that earlier moment, reliving the pain of that earlier moment, holds Benjamin back. Benjamin, Joseph's only full brother from the same mother, as Jacob says, pen yikra'enu ason, in case he meets with disaster. When the brothers arrive in the Egyptian court, Joseph recognizes them immediately. And seeing them makes him remember the dreams of his youth, those dreams from last week, which of course were one of the original causes of this enormous family tension. He is catapulted back to the betrayal at the pit, to the revelation of his brother's murderous jealousy, only this time we get to see his emotions. I had to go back and look because I couldn't believe it. But in Parashat Vayeshev, last week's parasha, when the brothers debate killing him, they're standing there debating killing him while he's right in front of them. They strip him of his special coat. They throw him into an empty pit. They sell him off to a band of Ishmaelites. We don't hear a word from him. He doesn't express any emotion. He endures all of this in silence. Only now, hidden behind the safety of his Egyptian mask, do we have a sense of the enormous emotion he's been carrying all these years. Finally, when he hears them talking amongst themselves, hears them talking about their crimes against him, when he hears his eldest brother Reuven reminding them of how cruel they were, Joseph breaks down in tears. Rashi, the medieval commentator, tells us these tears are Joseph's response to his realization as he overhears his brothers talking that they do feel some regret over what they've done. And even earlier, Midrash pushes this even further by saying these tears are because of the compassion Joseph now feels for his brothers. I would add, these tears are the expression of Joseph's wrestling with himself, wanting to maintain his cool distance in the present, but being helpless against the pull of the past. The past lives in us. It's always waiting to be reactivated for our further understanding, our further insight, our further tshuva. Whether in the land of the living or even from beyond in death, our memories of the past are uncanny containers for our raw emotions. I learned this again recently myself. At the end of the Thanksgiving holiday, just last Sunday night, I learned of the death of a most beloved old friend, my dear friend Nell, from my college days, with whom I had lost touch for the most part. Life takes you in different directions. You're busy with all kinds of things. Not even knowing of her terminal diagnosis, I was just simply shocked to receive the news of her death. I spent most of last Monday and into the week feeling lost and really sad. As I wrote to her husband, the light of Chanukah is diminished for me this year. Her life was a beautiful and luminous one, and the world does indeed feel darker to me without it. And in addition to the sadness and regret of this loss, I'm also reliving some of my own past, reliving it as if it was yesterday. It's bittersweet. I know I can't really go back there, and yet the emotions are as vivid as if I could. Which brings me finally to Chanukah. Because as much as we may feel ambivalent about revisiting the feelings associated with our own personal history, our connection to our past as a people is a secret ingredient of Judaism's meaning and power. By now, we know that the actual history of Chanukah may be rather challenging to our modern sensibilities, and Isaac will have more to teach us about that shortly. But the explicit practice of calling up our shared past as sacred memory is essential to our tradition. It's at this season that we say that prayer, Bayamim Hahem Bazman Hazeh. In those days, at this season, at this Zman, this time through which we summon the ability to reconnect with the past as though it were happening right now. May we all be like Joseph in this moment, in our ability to feel the feelings we may have stored away from another time and still move forward, still forgive, still see the bigger picture, maybe through that increased understanding even begin to find out how God is present in our lives. Shabbat Shalom. Let's begin our first reading. We're going to begin in the first of our three scrolls with Breshit, chapter 43, verse 30. No, verse 26, sorry. It's a delight to call Jeff Duretsky forward as our reader. And Rabbi Fred, will you? Yes.
ויעזור והגן ויושיע לכל החוסים בו ונאמר
Amen.
הכל הבוגד עלינו כבוד לתורה יעמוד הרב גרשום בן יצחק ודבורה על העלייה הראשונה ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו ואתם הדבקים לאדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום. Hold on a second. Page 276 in the old Plout or 277 at the bottom in the newer edition of the Chumash that some of you have. Again, Genesis chapter 43, verse 26, picking up right where, as Weber and Rice famously have Joseph musing, I shall now take them all for a ride. After all, they have tried fratricide.
Oh. Okay.
No, that's
not it. Yeah, there it is. Right there. No. Oh, we don't know. Okay, cool.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קרבנו לעבודתו ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. Amen. Vayavo Yosef habayta, vayaviu lo et hamincha asher beyadam habayta, vayishtachavu lo artsa, vayishal lahem leshalom, vayomer hashalom, avichem hazaken asher amartem. Ha'odenu chai, vayomru shalom, le'avdecha le'avinu odenu chai, vayikedu vayishtachavu, vayisa'an einav, vayah et binyamin achiv ben imo, vayomer Hazer achechem hakatan asher amartem elai vayomar Elohim yochnecha beni.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני הנותן התורה.
Amen. Yasher Koach to Jeff, who not only plays a mean clarinet and does something at Georgetown.
So
but,
we broke in on this Chanukah celebration a new yad, 150 years old from the Ukraine, more history to come with a little clarinetist on the top.
Oh my gosh, you'd have to show that up close to the camera afterwards. Yeah, beautiful, stunning. And special, if Sue, if you're out there, this aliyah is for you, Misha Berach to George's wife, Sue, and a blessing to all who are by distance. So, Yasher Koach. And for the second aliyah, similarly, if anyone in Ohio is tuning in, our hearts are with you. And it is so wonderful that Isaac's grandparents can all be here, and blessings to the great grandma who is perhaps tuning in and is certainly part of today's experience as well. So inviting the grandparents, glad to have you all with us. Amdu Chaim Shmuel ben Shlomo Yisrael Vasara, the Ruth Bat Neil Mary Leah, the Richard ben Jerome Bernice, the Carol Bat William the Eleanor, La Aliyah Shenit. Picking up, Isaac will be reading this, but this is not his big reading. That comes at the final, the maftir, picking up where we left off, verse 29 of Genesis chapter 43. Page 276 or right, there's a typo here. Genesis chapter 43, verse 30. Letter Lamed. You can all take the dip. The others.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirvanu le'avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayimachel Yosef, ki nichmeru rachamav el achiv, vayivakesh livchot, vayavoch achadra, vayevk shama, vayerchatz panav, vayetze, vayitapach, vayomer simu lachem, vayasimu lo levado, ולכם לבדם, ולמצרים האוכלים איתו לבדם, כי יולכלון המצרים לאכול את העברים לחם, כי תועבה היא למצרים, וישא מסעות, וישבו לפניו כבכור כתורתו, וחצאיר כתזירתו, ויתמכו הנשים איש אל רעהו, וישא מסעות מאת פניו עליכם, בצלם מסעת בנימין, ממסות כולם חמש עדת, וישתו וישתרו עמו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tofenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. You get to stay up here. Thank you. Yashakach. Right. Inviting Noam and Caroline, the first of three Hagbas and Galilas. Ya'amod ha'magbia Sefer Rishon ta'amod ha'golelet Sefer Rishon. This scroll is some 200 years old. It is a survivor of the Shoah, and due to its antiquity, this one we don't do the full lift, just sort of a cradle. So we rise as we are able for the first of the three Torah addressings.
And Caroline, take hold of this. So just lift it. No, lift it up from your. No, the other way. No, put this down.
Torah, 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 Torah. Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah. Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. You may be seated.
We have 2 more readings yet to come, but we'll pause here for a prayer for healing. And I want to just acknowledge it's a gift to have any grandparents on this bima, and it's a rare gift to have all 4 here. And I want to acknowledge Isaac and Naomi's 2 great-grandmothers who are still with us, not in the room today, but with us on the planet, and we send love and blessings to them as well.
So we take a moment for a blessing of healing, and I'll ask for our people who are in the Zoom room, as our tradition, you could put the name or names of people you're holding in your heart for a prayer of healing in the chat. For people who are here in the room, if you just would like to stand at your seat, and then we'll take a moment once everyone is ready to say the name or names of people you're holding in your heart aloud. And the words we're singing, Ana Elna Rafana La, or Rafana Lo, for a man, are the words that Moses says to entreat God to help heal his sister, Miriam. Shlema, a healing of body and mind and spirit. Amen.
The proud and awesome parents now return. Ya'amdu Menachem ben Chaim Shmuel Veruth Ve'Yael bat Richard Ve'Carol la'aliyah shlishi. 3 scrolls each for a different occasion. This middle scroll, we're reading from Numbers chapter 28 about Rosh Chodesh, what happens when the new moon, which is actually this very afternoon, the official molad, the moment when the moon passes directly between Earth and Sun. No spectacular lunar eclipse this month like last, but we celebrate it anyway on this 2-day Rosh Chodesh festival. We are on page 1210 in the old edition of the Plaut Chumash, or 1082 in the newer. Again, Numbers chapter 28, verse 9.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Kirvanu Lavodato Venatan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Ubiyom HaShabbat Shnei Kevasim B'nei Shana Timimim U'Shnei Esronim. So let mincha Bilulav Hashemen V'Nizko Olat Shabbat B'Shabbato Al Olat HaTamid V'Nizka U'Rashei Chodshechem Takrivu Ola Adonai Parim B'nei Bakar Shanaim V'Ayil Echad Kivasim b'nei shana, shiva timimim, u'shlosha esronim. So let mincha blulav hashemen lapar ha'echad, u'shnei esronim. So let mincha blulav hashemen la'il ha'echad, ve'isaron isaron. So let mincha blulav hashemen la'keves ha'echad, Ola reach nichoach ishel Adonai v'nizkehem chatzi hahin yeh lapor u'shlishit hahin la'ayil u'rvi'it hahin lakeves yain zoto lachodesh b'chodsho l'chadshei hashana u'seir izim echad l'chatat l'Adonai Alolat hatamid yaseh benizko. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Okay, Mark Klepa and Betsy Turetsky for the second scroll. Ya'amod ha'magbia sefer sheni, ta'amod ha'galalet sefer sheni. Again, we rise as we're able. Ezot HaTorah asher sham Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Shema beni musar avicha ve'al titosh Torah timecha. Torah, Torah, ziva lanu Moshe, morasha, morasha, kehilat Yaakov, Shema beni musar avicha, ve'al titosh Torah timecha. Torah, Torah, tziva lanu Moshe,
Morasha, Morasha, Kehilat Yaakov. The third and final scroll, it is less than annual that we need 3. We designed the ark for just a moment such as this, when it is Chanukah and Rosh Chodesh and the regular Shabbat. The rabbis searched for something that would fit because, of course, Chanukah is a post-Torah holiday. And they found Numbers chapter 7. It's not a brilliant fit. There were 12 days of sacrifices brought. So for each day of Chanukah, we do the relevant of Numbers 1 through 8. This is in Numbers chapter 7. I'll give you the page number now, and then the reader will be called with great fanfare by his incredible tutor, Pam. This is on page 1072 in the old Plaut Chumash, or 933 in the newer edition, 1072 or 933, Numbers chapter 7, verse 42.
Yamot, Yamot, Habachur bar ha-mitzvah, Yitzchak ben Menachem ve'Yael, Maftir chazar.
You're up. Oh, Yom, what's today? This 5th day, right? Yom HaChamishi, I believe. Oh, Yom HaShishi. Okay. It's the spot with the tallit.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kirvanu le'avodato, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Bayom hashishi nasi livnei Gad Eliasah ben Duel korbano tat kesef achar shloshim u'mea mishkalaha mizrach echad kesef 70 shekel v'shekel hakodesh shnehem me'ilim solet belulav hashemen l'mincha Kafachar, Asalazachar, Meleakatoret, Parechar, Ben Bakar, Ailechar, Kevasachar, Ben Shnato, Leolaha, Zilizim Echad, Lechatat, Ulozevach Shamihim, Bakar Shnayim, Elihim Hamisha, Atodihim Hamisha, Kevesim Haneshanaha, Hamisha, Zeh, Korban Eliasaf, Ben Deuel. Baruch hu et Adonai, no, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Oh yeah. Inviting Melissa and Shai for the last lifting and wrapping. Yamod Hamagdia Sefer Shlishi. Tamon Hagolelet Sefer Shlishi. Once more, we rise in body or spirit. Down the neck. Zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe.
Chaim hi
Machzikim ba v'tomcheha. Meusha etz chaim hi lemachzikim ba v'tomcheha. Meusha. Shalom, 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 shalom. Etz chaim hi lemachzikim ba v'tomcheha. Meusha. Etz chaim hi lemachzikim ba v'tomcheha. Meusha etz chaim hi lemachazikim ba v'tomcheha. Meusha. In assigning the Haftarah for Chanukah, the rabbis did a much better job because Chanukah is subject to reinterpretation in every era. And after Isaac chants the rabbi's spin on it, not by might and not by power, we're then going to hear his original 21st century revision or reconstruction of Chanukah.
I will be reading from the Haftarah that is customary for the first Shabbat of Hanukkah. In this Haftarah reading, the prophet Zechariah receives a vision from God. The vision includes instructions for how the leader of the Babylonian exiles, Zerubbabel, must lead the exiles. These famous instructions are lo v'chayil v'lo v'koach li imluhi, not by power, not by might, but with my spirit. The Haftarah can be found on page 1448 in the New Plout and 1645 in the Old.
Blessing, and then you jump right in.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'rasav divlechem hane'emalim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai kabocher b'torah u'moshe avdoh Uvinvieh ha'emet b'tzedek.
Amen.
Vayashav hamalach hadover bi vayireheni keish asher ye'or mishnato vayomer elai ma ata ro'eh va'omar ra'iti v'hinei menorat zachav kula v'gula al rosha v'shiva neoteha alecha shiva v'shiva mutzakot la'nerot asher al rosha ושניים זיתים עליך, אחד ממיעין הגולה, ואחד על שמאלה, ואען ואומר אל המלאך הדובר בי לאמור, מה אלך אדוני, ויען ויאמר אלי לאמור, זה דבר אדוני אל זרובבל לאמור, לא בחיל ולא בכוח, כי אם בלהי אמר אדוני צבאות. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol haolamim tzadik bechol hadorot ha'el hane'eman ha'omer ve'oseh hamdaver umkayehem shekol davaraha emet v'tzedek Ne'ema ha'an atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devarecha v'devarecha had midvarecha achor lo yashuv rekaham ki el melech ne'ema ha'an v'rachaman ata baruch ata Adonai ha'el ha'ne'ema han bechol devaraha Al haTorah ve'al havodah ve'al hanvi'im ve'al yom haShabbat hazeh shenatata lahanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha ve'limnucha likevod ulitafaret el hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu motihim laha umervatim otaha Yitbarashimcha befi kol hai tamid leolam ba'ehed baruch ata Adonai mikadesh hashabat.
Awesome. And after beautifully reading the words of others, we now get to hear Isaac's original perspective.
Good morning and Shabbat Shalom. I read from two Torah portions today. The first was Parshat Miketz in Genesis about Joseph reuniting with his brother Benjamin for the first time since he was sold into slavery in Egypt by his other brothers. It's a very emotional portion, and it can be relatable to people in our current social climate, when many loved ones have been unable to see each other for a long time due to COVID. I also had a special reading for Hanukkah from Numbers. In this portion, Eliasaph ben Deuel makes offerings to God, including precious objects and animals for sacrifice. I originally was planning on talking about the story of Joseph for this Devar Torah because it seemed much more interesting, but Rabbi Fred helped me to realize that this is the only Shabbat of the year that falls during Hanukkah, so let's talk about it. Everyone knows the story about how Judah Maccabee and his small army defeated the massive Greek army, which seemed like a miracle. But what if I told you that the Maccabees may not simply be the heroes we make them out to be? That the story may be more complicated than that. Among all but the most religious Jewish circles, the Maccabees were actually considered extremists and sometimes even terrorists. Maccabees objected to the Greeks' restriction on how they could pray and observe Jewish law. However, many of the Jews who lived under the Greek regime may not have been troubled by the Greeks' rules and may have even preferred the Greek way of life. There was a dilemma facing Jews in that society, to support the Maccabees or to stay on the sidelines. On one hand, the Maccabees were standing up for the rights of Jews to pray and practice their religion and culture. On the other hand, the way they did that could be violent and destructive. Rabbi Rachel mentioned to me that the Maccabee story was told much more frequently among Jews after the formation of the State of Israel in 1948, perhaps because the idea of Jews fighting for their rights and their safety became very relevant, especially in the aftermath of the Holocaust. In ancient times, beginning in the 4th and 5th century CE, the telling of the story focused more on the miracle of the oil burning for 8 nights, rather than the miracle of the military victory. In my own experience, this is the part of the story that adults have focused on when they tell a story of Hanukkah, perhaps to make the story seem more kid-friendly and less violent. Not too many of us want to tell stories to our little ones about Jews killing soldiers sleeping in their tents. The prophet Zechariah states in my Haftarah portion, "Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit." If we focus on military might during war, do we lose the spirit that makes us see ourselves for what we are? And when we focus on the spirit, do we lose the bravery to inspire us and lead us on? Throughout our different lives, we have to navigate between forces that may pull us in different directions. Jews living in that era had to decide how to live as Jews in a Greek-dominated culture. This made me think, how do each of us today make sense of our multiple identities? In my case, that includes being Jewish and American. As a baseball player and fan, I've always been told about one example, how Sandy Koufax chose not to pitch in a World Series game that took place on Yom Kippur. He was making a choice that his religion was more important than his job, much to the sadness of many Dodgers fans. What are the choices and compromises we make today? What happens when being Jewish doesn't feel consistent with being American? For example, in recent years, the American government did things that seemed inconsistent with Jewish values, such as shutting out immigrants and imprisoning their children, or pulling out of the Paris Climate Accords. We have a choice to make when there are conflicts between being Jewish and American. We can choose to isolate ourselves, much like the Maccabees did, or we can find a way to live in both cultures as Jews and Americans. Over the course of almost 400 years, the Jewish people have influenced American culture in many ways. The fields of science, business, sports, law, politics, entertainment, and more have been impacted by Jews throughout the years, even though we're a very small percentage of the population. At its best, America echoes many key Jewish values, such as helping the stranger, protecting the defenseless, and honoring the rule of law. The values of America, such as equal rights, have also impacted and changed Jewish practice. In fact, Reconstructionist Judaism was created to find a balance between Jewish life and American life, to the benefit of both. As I enter adulthood, I hope to bring forward the best of each culture that makes me who I am today. For me, this means being aware and engaged in helping to address problems created by American history and bring Jewish values along with me. For my Tikkun Olam projects, I'm volunteering with the Ward 8 Water Watchers to help clean up the environment with other young people in Southeast DC, a community that has experienced systemic disinvestment. I'm also collecting gently used baseball gear to send to young players in the Dominican Republic. Working with the Ward 8 Water Watchers represents important values such as protecting the environment and building connections with people from different backgrounds. Donating baseball equipment is an opportunity to help those who are less fortunate than me, but who share my love for the sport. Each Jewish person must map their own path as they live in American society. While I respect the Maccabees for their dedication to Jewish traditions, I believe that there's a way to balance the old and the new, to live as a fully Jewish person within a larger society. Will you join me in trying to find a way to balance American life and Jewish values? If we can find a way to bring our Jewish values into our mainly American lives, we may find that it will change them and us for the better. Shabbat Shalom and Happy Hanukkah.
Put it all down. Settle in. Take a deep breath. And now we get to bless you. A word about the pieces of candy that may be burning a hole in some of your fingers. We should say an extra Shechianu today. It's been years since in the more public setting we've allowed this, but the carpet's going to be replaced soon anyway. So the reminder, the goal with this is not to bean the individual as hard as possible, but to offer a sweet welcome from the community into the full membership. So in a moment, you'll be pelting them up here. First, I and then Rabbi Rachel want to just offer the appreciation for the person that you have become, for the teacher that you are, and for the hope that you embody. In this Chanukah festival, when you have done so much to help us understand how to take the best of every part of our heritage and lift up the meaning of a holiday like this, I just want to add the idea that you have brought the light. You are embodying the light. And I want to bless you to keep being the light. You have so much to give and so much to share. And we live in a world that sometimes tries its best to knock that empathy out of us and remind us that we have to buckle down. There's gender-specific pressures as well for those who are male to not always be so empathic and so centering the needs of others, I want to bless you to hold on to all of that you have brought through your first 1.3 decades, and that you are modeling so beautifully now, and keep that going into this remarkable adulthood and Jewish adulthood that you symbolically entered today. Picking up from that moment almost 13 years ago when you tried to eat the words of Torah that had standing quite right here, I remember a story that either you or your parents shared with me months ago in the spring when we first started talking about this, and it was with awareness of the science and empathy for everyone impacted, that when you got your first shot of the vaccine in the mass vac site, you burst out reading your Torah portion. And I want to bless you to keep that sense of excitement and to keep that natural mixing of the secular and the sacred. You have so much to give. We can't wait to see where it will take you. And we'll be there with you every step of the way.
Excuse me, Isaac, it has been an absolute joy to get to see you emerge into this stage of your life, and we send you only good things to go forward into whatever's coming next. I want to ask the whole community to join with me in giving the ancient priestly blessing to Isaac, and then to say this prayer that we have for recognizing this moment. So first, I'll say the 3 lines of the priestly blessing and ask you to affirm each one. Ken yehi ratzon. Wish I could hold. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ken yehi ratzon. Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Ken yehi ratzon. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Ken yehi ratzon. And now you can say with us too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higyanu lazman hazeh.
Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov,
Just stand here and take a minute and take in the love here. You. And we'll invite you back here in just a moment. But for now, you can take a seat right here on the bima. We'll invite forward now, I believe, Spencer Biel. Spencer. And ask everyone to turn back to the Siddur, page 419.
What do I desire for my country? How do I vision the land I love? Let it be a land where knowledge is free, where the mind is without fear, and men and women hold their heads high, where words come out from the depth of truth, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way in the dreamy desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward into ever-widening thought and action. Into that heaven of freedom, let my country awake.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Feel free to take a snack. There's a lot here. We'll return all three Sifrei Torah to the Aron. We want to call forward Adrian Biel and Emily Cavell for the honor of returning the Torahs, and we'll ask everyone to please rise. Page 433 first, and then 441. Page 433. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, odo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tila lecho chasidav, Livnei Yisrael, Am Kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Shuv Adonai, Levavot Alkei Yisrael, Lilech Haktov Natati Lachem, Torati.
Chaim hi lemachzikim bach
v'tomchecha me'ushar terachecha dahecha v'chol netivotecha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Mazel tov, everyone.
You may be seated except for members of Chords of Glory.
So I would like to invite up Sarah and Naomi and Miriam and Eleanor and Luke and Nathan and Jojo, please. Just one second. We're a bit down in our numbers today. I don't normally sing with this group. You can understand why, but we are going to begin with a beautiful round called Turning, Turning, and it's by Linda Hirschhorn. Turning, turning, spirits yearning, reaching for the light. Colors going, shadows growing, darkening the light. Ancient story told, renewed with the cold, mystery And now for a more lively tune, I invite Melissa Willett to come up. She is the amazing accordion player who's going to accompany us. And I am assuming that some of you already know this song, Happy Joyous Chanukah. So please join in on the chorus. And if you have a solo, come near to a mic, please. Yeah.
Happy joyous Chanukah, nights and days, days and nights. Happy joyous Chanukah, 8 are the nights of Chanukah. Happy joyous Chanukah, 8 are the days, 8 are the nights. Happy joyous Chanukah.
Everybody sing this one.
How many candles do I light? Happy joyous Chanukah. 8 are the candles you should light for a happy joyous Chanukah. 8 are the nights of Chanukah. Happy joyous Chanukah. Nights are the days and 8 are the nights. Happy joyous Chanukah. One for Moses on the mount, happy joyous Chanukah. 2 for the mother and father love, happy joyous Chanukah. 8 are the nights of Chanukah, happy joyous Chanukah. 8 are the days and 8 are the nights, happy joyous Chanukah.
Two for the book, 3 for the books that Ezra taught. Happy, joyous Chanukah. 4 for the Hebrew children. Happy, joyous Chanukah.
8 are the nights of Chanukah. Happy, joyous Chanukah. 8 are the days and 8 are the nights. Happy, joyous Chanukah.
5 for the brothers Maccabee. Happy, joyous Chanukah. 6 for the tricks the king did play. Happy, joyous Chanukah.
8 are the nights of Chanukah. Happy, joyous Chanukah. 8 are the days and 8 are the nights. Happy, joyous Chanukah.
Sing for the sons of Hannah that died, not so happy Chanukah. 8 for the new built altar place, happy joyous Chanukah.
8 are the nights of Chanukah. Happy, joyous Chanukah. 8 are the days and 8 are the nights. Happy, joyous Chanukah.
9 is the light of God that shines. Happy, joyous Chanukah. Around this whole wide world tonight. Happy, joyous Chanukah.
9 is for God's light that shines. 8 for the new built altar place. 7 for the sons of Hannah that died. 6 for the kings and the tricks they tried. 5 for the brothers Maccabee. 4 for the Hebrew children. 3 for the books that Ezra taught. 2 for the father and mother love. 1 for Moses on the mount. 8 are the nights of Chanukah. Happy, joyous Chanukah. 8 are the days and 8 are the nights. Happy, joyous Chanukah. 8 are the nights of Chanukah. Happy, joyous Chanukah. 8 are the days and 8 are the nights. Happy, joyous Chanukah.
Thank you so much, Pam, and Chords of Glory, Performance with a Purpose. And Melissa, all of the singers, Woody Guthrie, the author of that song, and so many more. Beautiful to have both of the Biel Schrader children involved. Moving to the conclusion of our service, it's our custom to offer the names of those who have been lost to us in this realm of existence, either in this past month or the anniversary of whose death falls this week. We are remembering on this Shabbat the recent losses of Chicky Smythe, Katie Newman's beloved mother. And we have with us Amy Finkelstein-Dick back from remembering in Minneapolis the Shiva for a life incredibly well-lived of her beloved sister, Judith Karstan. Yes, Castan, sorry. And our condolences are with you and with everyone. We are also remembering at this time Marie-Jeanne Lambert's father, Gerard, Elisa Dortort's father, Eli, Gail Ross's father, Bernard, Neil Goldenberg's mother, Jenny, Lauren Biel's grandfather, beloved to so many in this room, the yahrzeit being tomorrow for Jerome Schwader, Gary Shore's grandmother, Rose, Mark Zweig's mother, Catherine, Wendy Baber's grandfather, Harvey Goldberg, Irma Schoen's mother, Rose Shaneberg, Jonathan Sherman's father, Bernie, Phil Zippin's mother, Betta, Barry Fierst's remarkable mother, Caroline Fierst, Chana Weisberger's uncle, Yehuda, Sandra Yesnowitz's late sister, Cynthia Dallard, Robert Stern's father, Herman, Irving Weinberg's brother, Stanley, Jerry Gross's father, Isidore, Frank Lipson's father, Elliot, Sue Dreesen's mother, Helen Demby, Larry Goldsmith's father, Ted, Tim Littman's late brother-in-law, Hannah's beloved brother, Buddy Leibowitz, Shelley Sadowski's and Jocelyn Schaefer's mother, Beatrice, Ann Spielberg's father, Saul, Robert Stern's mother, Sylvia, and Julia Tossel's sister-in-law, Penny Cheney. Inviting all those who are in mourning or commemorating a yahrzeit to please rise as you are able. Page 451, Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, ba'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha berichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chaim Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, amen. Zichronam livracha, all of their memories for a blessing. And as we turn back to page 445 to affirm the sacred work that we have to do, which starts with praise and acknowledgement for all that is, invite us to rise in body or spirit for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shenatan lanu Torah temet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu, v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei ruach malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Shevet hashamayim v'yoser eretz Moshe v'yikra b'shmei Moshe.
Bottom of 449. Ki amachuchecha el maya timloch b'chavod kakatuv b'toratecha Adonai himloch leolam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom ahu, Yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad. We may be seated. Do we have a designated board greeter? Excellent, thank you. So a moment of welcome from the communal leadership. Claire will be the designee today to name a few of the exciting things coming up. And we're going to need Isaac back up here for a small presentation as well.
You want to take yours? It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. I'll keep mine too then. So Isaac, I was so excited today when I saw I was going to get to be the one to give you both a gift from the board and your name tag. Our families have had a lot of overlap at Adat Shalom. And you and Oren are overlapping right now. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Eastern. I know there's a bunch of people here, so enjoy everything. And you were mazel tov. You were wonderful. Thank you. Take care. Shabbat Shalom. So the first thing, when everyone walks out today, you'll see on the table that has challah and juice, the list of all the Hanukkah offerings. And there's one tonight, 5:30 to, let me make sure I get the time right. 5:30 to 7:30, Havdalah and Hanukkah. I believe candle lighting is starting at 6. And it'll be in and outside the social hall. And please bring your friends, was on the announcement I was told to give. So enjoy and happy Hanukkah. I hope everyone's having a great Hanukkah. So the other thing I was asked to announce is next Shabbat, Deborah Waxman, the president and CEO of the Reconstructionist Judaism, will be in the DMV. And she'll be at Oseh Shalom in Laurel for Friday night. And then she'll be at Adat Shalom next Saturday morning. And there will be a special announcement going out on Monday. So everyone keep your eyes open for this. So I don't know if it'll be social solidarity or how it'll come out, but it'll be a special announcement. And that is all. Mazel tov.
Awesome. Thank you. Rabbi Dr. Deborah Waxman is a remarkable scholar and a great thinker about where our community is and is headed. Friday night, we have the option of Zooming, though Laurel is not that far away, and we hope there'll be a contingent signing up to join. And she will be here Saturday morning, and then through a BYOO, bring your own oneg, as we did for the remarkable music Shabbaton 2 weeks ago, and continuing with a talk after the brief lunch as well. Lots to look forward to. Tonight at 5:30, all ages are welcome. We hope to see many of you here. So one more time, Isaac, woohoo, come on up. Get to hold the Kiddush cup.
We're going to do a special Vishamru and Isaac will say the bracha.
Fabulous. Page 465.
Please rise.
Shalom
Shameru, Bnei Yisrael, Shabbat, לעשות את השבת
לדורותם ברית עולם.
בני ישראל
אותי לעולם.
כי ששת ימים
עשה אדוני
בשמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי
שבת ויהי נחש.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת
לדורותם ברית עולם.
בני ובני ישראל
אותי לעולם.
כי ששת ימים
עשה אדוני
בשמיים
ואת הארץ
וביום בשביעי
שבת ויהי נחש.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת
לדורותם ברית עולם.
בני ובני ישראל
אותי לעולם.
כי ששת ימים
עשה אדוני
בשמיים
ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נחש. Isaac, take your Kiddush cup. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו, סברי חבריו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם,
בורא פרי הגפן.
All right. It's good juice, isn't it? מה יפה היום, שבת שלום. מה יפה היום, שבת שלום. שבת, שבת שלום. שבת, שבת שלום. שבת, שבת שלום. שבת שלום. שבת שלום. מזל טוב.
Thank you.
I guess we're not doing any breakouts today, huh?
Well, usually the people who stay behind do breakouts a little bit together.
Is there some reason we didn't do in Muncie?
But
Yes,
they-
somebody has to put us in breakout rooms. I'm gonna,
Oh, you're muted. You
no, I unmuted myself. I'm gonna write to,
Well, last time we didn't do any breakout rooms, but whoever was left behind just stayed hi to each other.
yeah, that's Chanukah. We're not muted, Clem.
Well, Shabbat shalom to everybody.
Hi.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I think most of the other people are off
Shabbos.
anyway. Look at that, yeah.
Have our own breakout room.
That's a big one.
These are the important people here.
Hi, Carol. How are you feeling, Carol?
Me, Carol?
Yes,
You,
you, Carol. Carol Light.
Carol Light. I'm feeling okay, except that I fell the other day and really hurt my wrist.
Oh.
And it had nothing to do with what I was going with. It was just a stupid not seeing a curb to step up on.
So is your wrist broken or anything, or?
It might be a hairline fracture. Right now, he's not doing anything except, to give me this brace and to have me ice it. And we'll see what happens.
Charlie, we just heard about you. How are you doing? It's good to see you sitting up.
Yeah, I'm doing a bit better, thank you.
It's great to see you. And Barb. And Barb, please I will be in touch with you to see if you need anything.
Thank you. Thank you. He actually is really doing much better the last 2 days, which is great.
Great.
Oops.
Okay, Charlie, back on that bike soon.
Maybe a little.
No, I think it's going to be a long time.
Okay.
I promised Barb I wouldn't get back on a bicycle until I could walk the trails at Sugarloaf without keeling over.
Ah.
Oh,
And
yeah, boy, take care of your health. It's important. Gosh.
What happened, Charlie?
I got mono. And
You
it's
got
not
mono?
easy to get mono as a 65-year-old.